All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our book discussion. Tonight, we are going to be discussing What Lives in the Woods by Lindsay Currie, who we just so happen to have the honor of hosting with us tonight. So, before we get started, I'm going to give everybody a chance to kind of get here and get in the comments and everything, say hello. But in the meantime, I will let everybody kind of introduce themselves, just say who they are. And just if you want to say a little bit about yourself, what you like to read, or maybe your favorite spooky middle grade book, I don't know, something like that. We'll just go ahead and do introductions while everybody's popping in. So Hope, we'll start with you.
Alrighty, Hope from Hope on the Coast, and I my I shared today earlier on Instagram like what my recommendations for spooky middle grade are. What Lives in the Woods, Scritch Scratch was two of them. I loved the night books, loved Daybreak on Raven Island, and then the Small Spaces series and the Avalon Jones series are a couple of my favorites as well. So those are
Yay.
recommendations from me.
Awesome. Kendall?
Well, I'm Kendall. My channel's Bookphoria, and my favorite ones are probably some of Hope's favorites. The
Yeah.
Avalon Jones. I really enjoyed Night Books. I really love Deep and Dark and Dangerous by Mary Downing Hahn, and What Lives in the Woods is definitely a new favorite as well.
Yay. I love it.
Oh, oh.
And Lindsay?
Okay, well, hi everybody. I'm Lindsay Currie. I'm so honored to be here tonight. This is really cool. I have so many spooky favorite books. It's like out of control, but I
I think we lost her for a second.
really, really, really love those. Ooh, I think I went
Yeah,
frozen
you
there.
Just a
you
little
froze
bit.
for a
You're
second.
good
So
now.
we didn't
Was
hear
it the
any of the
weird
books.
taste? Okay. So Catherine's series is always like really top of my list. And I feel like honestly, from the first book to the last book, they're all just amazing, which is why I consistently rank it up there. So I'm going to go with Small Spaces.
Yes, that's like really what propelled me into spooky middle grade a lot was her series.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. I love that. Well, let's go ahead and see who's here in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and say in advance if I miss anybody tonight, it is not personal. I'm going to try to get through as many comments as possible, but we also want to get through a lot of questions and stuff with Lindsay also. So let's see who's here. This was funny earlier. Gabby popped in. Boo, did I scare you? So glad you're here. Hey, Katie. Didn't finish the group read. That's okay. I was going to let you guys know. So with Lindsay, we're not going to have any spoilers or anything. We're just going to do a Q&A with her and chat a little bit. And so you guys are welcome to be here, whether or not you read the book or not. But we hope that you get to it because it was a really good one. So hello, everyone. Just going to kind of speed through these. So glad y'all are here tonight. Hello. All here with my 11 and 12-year-olds. All finished the book this morning. Oh, I love that. Oh, love the book and Jenny. Been waiting all week. Yay. I know I've been waiting all day for this. I haven't been able to focus on anything else except for just being excited to be here tonight. Yeah. Hello.
It was.
Yeah.
It was good.
Night Books is good. You got to watch the movie too. I really like the movie. It's different than the book, but it's still good.
Yeah.
Love What Lives in the Woods. Almost finished with Scritch Scratch. I love that. Hello, everybody. Love the book Amari and the Night Brothers. You should read it. That is on my list. Spooky thunderstorms happening here tonight. It's a great ambiance. I love that. It is sunny here today, which I'm thankful for, but our weather's always crazy. Hello. Finish all four of my books. Good deal. Hello. I know it's so cool that Lindsay's here. We're all just like fangirling over here. All right. So let's just start it out. And if you're not currently reading anything, just let me know what your next read is. But what is everybody currently reading, or what are y'all going to start next? I'll start this time since I guess I didn't say anything last time, but I finished my Boookathon books and I am actually in the middle from April of On Spine and Death by Tamara Berry, which is a cozy mystery. And this is the second book in the series. I really love it. It's my favorite cozy mystery series. So that is what I'm in the middle of. Hope, what about you?
I'm always in the middle of multiple things. So I'm doing a reread of Beach Read to annotate. I'm going really slow with that one. And sometime this week, I'm going to be starting, what is it called? A River Enchanted or The Serpent and the Wings of Night for Jordan's book club that I'm hosting with her this month. So that I'm going to co-host with her. So it's going to be one of those two for this week.
Me?
Yes, sorry. I said it and I was muted. Sorry. Kendall, what about you?
So I am going to be starting 2 books probably either today or tonight or tomorrow. I just started The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. So I'm excited about that one. And I'm also going to be listening to the audiobook of I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
And the audiobook for that is incredible. That's how I
Yeah.
that's how I read that one. It was amazing.
Yep.
I'm
Same.
excited for it.
Lindsay,
Yeah.
what are you currently reading?
Okay, so I just finished, I'm very lucky because I've been reading some really good arcs lately. And so I just finished The Mystery of the Radcliffe Riddle that's going to be coming out this summer from Taryn Suitors. So Taryn wrote Coop Knows the Scoop. She's fantastic mystery writer and has such a great voice and writes these very quirky, wonderful characters. So I just finished that, and I am digging into Nightmare Island by Shakira Bourne. I don't know if you guys have seen this cover, but it's an amazing cover. It's spooky middle grade. It comes out in June, I believe. And what really caught my eye about it was the mention of faceless children. I know, faceless children, and I think it said with backward. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh no, the faceless children are on the cover.
Oh, yeah, they're in the back.
Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
At first, I
This
just
is
saw
like
them and then the
Nightmare
background.
Island. It's just, we should just like rename it Lindsay's Nightmare Island because
Yeah.
My goodness.
children, it's like worming its way into my brain.
Yeah. I love that. Is this a debut or has she written other things?
I think this may be her debut. I'm not
fun.
100% sure, but yeah, I was really excited when I got the package from our publisher. So
Yay.
I will, yeah, as soon as I have a chance to read that, I'll definitely post like a little mini thing about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I love that. See, now we're just getting all like the
New
scoop
books,
on
I know.
upcoming.
Oh, and just you guys might want to put like Peril at Price Manor. I read that arc recently as well to blurb, and that was wonderful. And then there's kind of a different take on a haunted house called Finch House coming out the same day I release as well by Sierra Birch.
How have I not heard of these?
Yeah,
Right.
you know what? Here, they're all coming your way now. Like you're
Yes.
gonna have this very long list. So
I'm gonna need you
that
to
was-
email me those titles
Yeah,
so I don't forget.
I'm on it. I'm on
I
it.
do. I have NetGalley, so like I try to keep track with what they put on, but they don't always
Mhm.
put everything on there. So
No, sometimes they split between Edelweiss as well. So I never know what's
Yeah.
going where. So
true. I apologize in advance for my dog who has decided to play. So if y'all see me or muted or trying to handle
that's
her,
so
she's
cute. He's like,
yeah, she's crazy. She's a miniature dachshund and she just always likes to play. Her name
The
is
energy.
Jovi.
oh,
Everybody's
she's
used to seeing her
adorable.
at this point, but my gosh, she's usually laying in my lap and not crazy like she is tonight. But hey, quit. She's not gonna. So if y'all hear squeaking, that's what it is. All right, let's see. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our kind of Q&A with you a little too. And I will try to keep up with the comments, but if y'all see anything in the comments, if you guys want to help me kind of keep an eye on those, because I know they're going to go crazy tonight, but I want to go ahead and get to some of the questions. So to start out, since this is going to be our book discussion tonight, can you just, since you wrote it, can you tell us a little bit about What Lives in the Woods, what it's about, and kind of how the story came together?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a funny story. What Lives in the Woods actually happened while I was supposed to be finishing another book. So I was finishing up edits on Scritch Scratch. actually may have been the book prior. And my husband very kindly sent me on a weekend away. I had never been away from the kids and my husband, like by myself. And he was like, you know what, you need to get this done and we want to help you. So he put together this big like cheese and wine basket and rented me a bed and breakfast in Saugatuck, Michigan, where What Lives in the Woods takes place. And so I checked myself in, and, you know, these little bed and breakfasts, everyone is so kind and chatty. And so they were like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I write books. I actually write ghost stories." And, you know, the guy's face just got very serious. And he said, "You know, we have a haunted mansion here." And
Oh
I
my
was
goodness.
I didn't know that, but now I need to know everything about it. And even though I was supposed to have blinders on and be finishing this other book, I couldn't ignore that. Like I had to, you know, I had to do a little bit of digging. And so in What Lives in the Woods, the mansion is called Woodmore. In real life, it is called the Felt Estate or the Felt Mansion, F-E-L-T. It is a real place in Saugatuck. It's right between Saugatuck and Holland, and it is actually nestled in a bunch of timber and dunes on one side. It is an incredible estate. It's used as a museum now primarily, but I had the opportunity to walk through, and there was no one else there. All of the little details in the book, like the speaking tubes, this is real. I get asked all the time if the mannequin that's in there is real. It is. I know it's horrible. It's meant to be displaying the dress, but I don't know if I'm just really freaked out by dolls or like human like figures.
I think we all are.
It's very scary to me. And it is, and the ballroom is also there. I do kind of spookify the house a little bit. So if you were to go visit it, I don't think you would find it inherently terrifying. You know, I definitely add in some things that make it feel a lot more ominous than it does. But the ballroom, the speaking tubes, all of this, as well as the history of the family. I did rename people a little bit, but the family history is actually real history. And this is a lot
Wow.
about what drew me into the book.
That's amazing. Oh
So
my
cool.
goodness. I love that.
It was really fun. It was a really fun experience. I mean, that's one of those things I think that I love about being a writer is, you know, your brain, you know, I just think it's like not just seeing something with your eyes, but like processing it and being like, "Ooh, this could be a really, really great book idea." Like I can feel this as a setting.
Mhm.
I can feel what it would be like, you know, to be coming to this place for the summer and having to
Yeah.
leave everything behind. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so cool.
Oh, someone's only 108.
Oh yeah.
You have to go. I've gotten so many pictures from people at the Felt Estate now. And it's a tiny little mansion. They're probably like, where are these people coming from?
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, because you mentioned kind of like the legends or like what inspired that, I'm going to
Mhm.
kind of pivot around a little bit with the conversation. So, can you talk a little bit about like your choice to include local legends and stories and kind of like what inspires you to incorporate them, where you find them? Oh, I mean, obviously that one you just happen to be there.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a lot of it, but
No, you know what? I think it's funny. Like when I was a kid, I really, really disliked history, but I think it's because I associated it with just a bunch of wars and dates and memorization. And I didn't really have the opportunity to kind of extend myself and research what I wanted to. And now as an adult, I realize there is so much fascinating, forgotten history. So really obscure history that people just have never heard about or don't really know, even in my own city. So Scritch Scratch is really an homage to that. For example, all of the stories in that book and all of the places are real places. And most people, even people that have lived in Chicago their entire lives, don't know them or know about them or know the history of them. And so one thing I really love to do with my books, including What Lives in the Woods, is kind of shine a light on that. I may not spell out every little thing about the history. I may occasionally take some liberties and rename people a little bit. You know, like Dorfelt and Agnes Felt are the actual people that inspired What Lives in the Woods, their family history and their home. And, you know, but at the same time, I want to include enough to maybe pique people's interests,
yeah.
make them do a little bit of research as well. And it's very fun when I get emails from readers saying, I thought this was all fictionalized. And then I started researching and I was blown away to find out it's actually real. that is so fun.
Yeah. That is incredible. That's like one of my favorite things about your stories is I know that it's tied to something that I can look up later. And
Yeah.
that just makes it even more interesting because it's tied to something real. So
It's so fun. And I mean, in terms of what the research for it looks like, I spend a lot of time prowling around some really creepy places. There's no way around it. I mean, I spend a lot of time in graveyards and in places that are considered to be haunted, because usually something is considered to be haunted for a reason. Something happens there that makes people think it is haunted. There are restless spirits for a reason. So a lot of my research is me wandering around like kind of a goofball, being like, well, this is scary. This is creepy. And then doing the research associated with it.
Yeah, for sure. So Jessica's asking if, like, since we know that your books are based on real places, you just mentioned like those people and that story. Are there other people and other stories that are based on like actual real life people?
Yeah. So I have several books where our antagonist, I really hate to use that word because our antagonist in a lot of my books, the ghost, often by the time you reach the end of the book, I think you have a different perception of this ghost than you did in the beginning. And I think it's hard to look at them at the end like an actual antagonist, to be honest, once you kind of understand their history and kind of where they're coming from. But in terms of my like main characters and secondary characters, the non-ghostly characters, I don't ever base them off of real people, but I do take bits and pieces of people and put them together, if that makes any sense. So, you know, I may meet someone who is, you know, really into something and I work that into a character. Or I'll give an example. So in my debut middle grade, which was called The Peculiar Incident on Shady Street, there's a secondary character named Nina who is really into ghosts and graveyards and legends. And she's very quirky, very unusual. She's got some elements of this one right here, right? Not all of her, but little bits and pieces. And so I'll do that. I'll take pieces from people, I'll smash them together. And then I keep messing with that until they feel like a real person to me. They need to feel three-dimensional. They need to feel like someone that I could interact with. And a big part of that in my head is I will sometimes do a little fake interview with the character, where I, you know, kind of imagine asking my character questions and then imagine how they would answer those questions. And that really helps me. If I can't answer certain things that I feel like I should be able to, then I'm not quite there yet with that character.
Yeah. I love that exercise. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to go back to this question because it kind of still feeds into what lives in the woods too, since the main character wanted to be a mystery writer and was a big fan of Agatha Christie. So are you a huge fan of Agatha Christie? And if yes, have you read her book collection?
I'm getting to them slowly. I love this question, actually, because prior to writing this book, I had read a few Agatha Christie books. And honestly, I think she's gaining popularity again because they're making, you know, her books into movies more frequently now. But definitely had not read her entire collection. What really drew me to using her is the fact that she is such a master of mystery. And at its heart, all of my books are mysteries. I mean, there's always like a paranormal element to them, but there's always like a mystery that I hope is as solid as Agatha Christie's mysteries were. And also, she does such a good job introducing the reader to concepts in mysteries like red herrings. And so she seemed like such a perfect, and she's also not quite as popular with a younger crowd, right? She's a little bit more timeless in my mind, but not everyone who is reading middle grade stuff is going to know who that is. But I do get emails from them now saying, I actually looked her up and I'm going to read some of her books. And I'm like, yes, okay, cool. You know, that's great.
Yeah, I love that. So, you know, with Agatha Christie being weaved in, there were obviously some red herrings in the book. And there was one thing that was a red herring that I didn't realize was supposed to be that. And it was the title, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know when I finished the book, I was like, I'm so confused. Did I miss like what lives in the woods? But is that what? Okay.
That's exactly. Okay. So I'm going to be perfectly honest. This didn't exactly work the way I thought it was going to, because in my mind, it was such a cool red herring. Because if you look at the cover, you've got what lives in the woods, but then you have this obvious clue on the cover that, up there, right there, you have this obvious clue that all of the danger isn't necessarily in the woods, because that thing is crawling down the inside of the curtain on the house. And I thought, how awesome would it be to walk the reader through what a red herring is, and then use the title as a red herring to throw them off for a big chunk of the book. I think a lot of people thought that was cool. I think a lot of people were like completely baffled by that and like, but Lindsay, you never told us what lives in the woods. So I mean, sometimes you like hit the nail on the head, and sometimes you're like, woo, sorta, you know. But I still think it was really fun. And you know what? At the curtain crawler. Very worst case scenario, maybe for the people that didn't exactly work for, I could write another one down the road and actually do kind of like a sequel where it's actually like what actually does live in the woods. Because the hitch,
I think that would be cool.
There's a real legend there. I mean, that is another legend that comes directly from people who live there. So
yeah,
that would be cool.
I love that. I think that's really creative. Once I figured it out, because one of the things we talked about when we were first discussing like that we were going to read this book is when I first bought this book, I didn't notice that. So this actually really does work as a red herring, because you're like, oh, what lives in the woods? And you're looking at the woods. You're not looking up here. So
that's right. You're not focused on that creepy crawly on the curtain.
I love it. So I just had to mention that because I know like some people were asking, and I even asked myself, and I'm like, okay, this has got to be what it is. So
awesome. I'm so glad you got it. It's like,
yeah. Okay. So what actually or who inspired you to start writing? And have you always known that you wanted to write spooky middle grade books?
So I'll be honest, I wrote a ton when I was a kid. Reading and writing was like my oasis. My family, I had a lovely family, but we did not have a bunch of money. So we weren't always going on cool vacations. In fact, we didn't really go on any vacations. And the way I explored different cultures and places and people was through books. I read all the time, and I loved writing. It was a way that I felt comfortable communicating and expressing myself. But to be fair, I also think that when I was young, we didn't have things like author visits, right? I didn't meet an author. I didn't go to any author signings. I grew up in a tiny town with a lot of corn and soy fields. So there wasn't a whole lot happening all the time. And because of that, I don't think I ever really like envisioned myself as a writer. If you'd asked me what a writer looks like, I would never have described myself in a million years. So it took me a long time to find this path. I had a bunch of other jobs. I was always writing, but it never occurred to me that it was more than a hobby, and that maybe my stories might be something other people would want to read. And then in terms of spooky, I've always loved spooky. Like I've never missed a Halloween dressing up. Like it's just, I love it. If you can tell it around a campfire, it's something I probably am going to think is fun and cool. And so the chance to write for this age group, which is, I think middle graders are clever and funny and amazing and so smart, but also so willing to take a journey with me and suspend belief and like go into this, this kind of alternate world where ghosts are a thing. And, the kids kind of get to this point where they have to handle things on their own. It's really a dream to be able to put all of these things that I love together. And I'm so, so lucky to be able to do it.
I love that. Oh, I actually I think they probably know this too. I don't write like actively. I think Kendall does, right? Do you write?
Yeah.
So Kendall, future author down there.
Yeah.
Do you write anything? Or do you want to?
I mean, I've thought about it. I was really good at writing in high school. I just have not like done anything since then. So I would be very rusty.
There's like a huge part of me that wants to write, and I know it's just about sitting down and starting, and I've written like short stories here and there, but not anything serious. But I feel like if I ever did write a book, I really do want to write a spooky middle grade. So I'm hoping that maybe in the future
you should absolutely do it. I feel what stops a lot of us, and I say this to young readers and writers all the time at school visits, it does take bravery and courage to share your writing. And I think that's something that held me up for a long time, was just it's a little bit scary, and it's scary for me with every book, every single book that comes out now, you know, although my fears may be a little different. Now I have readers that I don't want to disappoint. Like I never want them to feel like it's not as good as the last one. I want to keep learning and growing and getting better at what I do. So, but you just have to take that first step and like put yourself out there.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to like get published?
Oh God, so long.
That's another thing I know that's in the back of people's minds is like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like this gets talked about more than it used to, but you know, I mean, I wrote many books before I got an agent, and to be fair, those books were not fantastic. I wasn't ready. I didn't have any guidance at all. I didn't have critique partners. I didn't know what critique partners were. If we could print out all of those rejections, I could wallpaper your house and your house and your house and my house and everybody's house on this channel right now with those rejections, because there were so many. Yeah. But when I think back on all of those years, I think I'm finally to the point where I can look at that and say, without having those books not make it, and without having continued writing, I wouldn't have been able to write What Lives in the Woods or Scratch or The Girl in White, because that's how I learned. It's how I got better at the craft. And sometimes you just kind of have to go through that. But yeah, it took me years. It really did.
Yeah. Which is crazy to think about because of like, you've already, what is it, like 4 or 5 books, speaking middle grade books that you've published. And it's crazy to think that, you know, we all know how great of a writer you are. So, you know, it's
thank you. Publishing is a strange industry too, because just because I have these books out, and I mean, I love them and I'm so glad you guys love them, it doesn't mean I'm not still going to get rejected. I mean, it is a business, and you know, you have to be writing the right book at the right time and get it into the right hands. It's kind of like the planets all have to align. So it is complicated. But I'm always telling people, like, I'm, you know, proof, because I'm certainly not young. I'm proof that like you can do it. And it really doesn't matter what age you start, as long as you put your mind to it. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's really encouraging too.
Yeah.
So I know for Kendall too. Kendall, what are you writing? Can I ask?
Yeah. So I really am into Greek, just mythology in general.
Oh.
So I have a few ideas for like a mythology story that involves like showing, I think it's kind of getting more out there now, but a lot of people like really love Athena, the goddess of war, which I love her. I've had a tattoo of her, but there is like a really different side of her that where she didn't like stick up for like Medusa or different, you know, people. And so mine's kind of like showing a darker side of Athena.
I love it.
Oh,
pre-order now.
Yeah, I know. We will all get your book.
Like, what age group is this going to be for? I'm so intrigued.
I think I really want to gear it towards like young adult, or something like that. But
I'm excited.
That'd be so cool.
Love it. I love it. Oh, so hopefully you just inspired other people out there too that like want to write, because I know you inspired me and Kendall. So
thank you. Well, I mean, it's definitely like, I never want to like sugarcoat how it was, because you know, I think it's the same thing I tell kids too when I go to school visits. Like, you're going to have tough times, you know, it's just a matter of remembering you can totally do this, like 100%. I did not, I didn't even take creative writing in college. I was an English lit major. So my focus wasn't writing. All of the jobs I had prior to doing this full time were not writing related. It's just a matter of like practice and persistence and in reading a ton, which you guys already do. I swear, reading a bunch makes you a better writer.
Yeah, for sure. So what, and this is a hard question, I know, but what is your favorite book you've written to date? I know this is like author's favorite question.
Lindsay, what's your favorite kid? Okay, so I love them all. Okay, this is our you know, PSA. I love all of my books very much. I think there are 2 that really hold kind of a special place for me. Scratch for one, because for whatever reason, that book has like captivated so many people kind of across the board. It's been on so many state award lists, and I did just find out it actually won its first state award. Didn't just,
Yay!
I can't like announce what state it is yet, but like I'm just so honored by that, and it's a surreal thing, so that book definitely. But in terms of tone and vibe and scare factor and atmosphere, the one that's coming out in September, I think it could very quickly become my favorite book that I've ever written, because every time I revisit it to talk about it, whether it's at a school visit or with a bookseller or a librarian, I have this like moment where I'm like, I really love this book. Like this book is in the history, very scary and very dark, and again, very obscure. And I think people are going to like that.
Oh, cool. We'll talk a little bit more about that one in a minute, because I want you to share about that. We only have a couple more questions. These are a little bit more fun too. But what is your favorite book from your childhood?
This is going to be really polarizing, I'm afraid. Okay. Before I say this book, just know that I'm old. And this book made me feel all the things. Okay. It's Where the Red Fern Grows. That book was literally like, I read it. We used to have something called Riff Days at my school. It was reading is fundamental. And it was the most magical day because you went to the library and all the tables were covered with books and you could pick any one and take it home. And it was yours forever. And I got Where the Red Fern Grows, and I read it so many times that the cover fell off. And I remember begging my mom, to get me a new one, because it was incredible. I mean, it was just, I felt in those pages, I felt happiness, joy, profound sadness. It was really a reading experience for me.
Yeah. I always love like figuring out what book impacted people, or like what I don't know what your one favorite is from your childhood. I'm a very nostalgic person, so I love anything that's like looking back, like throwbacks and stuff. So I knew I was really curious. Did you read any spooky books as a kid, or were they too scary for you? Because I feel like for me they were too scary.
No, I loved them, but I feel like we didn't have very much middle grade. Like when I was a kid, spooky middle grade was not what it is now. So I read a ton of like, Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary, and there was some spooky stuff, but it was very small. And so basically what happened to kids like me who had an affinity for scary things was we kind of made a jump, and we were suddenly reading things like Stephen King, which really, really was not appropriate, like at all. We're, lucky I'm even remotely functioning now because I scared myself to death, so many times. But I will say this, I do remember one book that was age appropriate that I read, that, I guess we could consider middle grade, and it was called The Dollhouse Murders. And that book have you read that?
No, I haven't, but we just talked about it, and I was like, excuse me, what is this? Like, I need to
it was so wonderful when I was that age. I mean, I think it might have been the book that made little Lindsay go, oh, I like this. This is scary and I like it. Like it was such a good feeling. Yeah. Now, I haven't reread it as an adult in a long time. My recollection is there may be some things in that book, kind of PSA here that like did not age very well, to be honest, and maybe are not like fantastic, but from a mystery and an atmosphere and a tone standpoint, that book was fantastic. And I think it was Betty Wren Wright who wrote that book. But yeah, it was really eerie.
We were literally, me and Hope were talking about that the other night on Friday, because we were on Reading Sprints and we were talking about creepy dolls, and somebody mentioned that. And then also they said there was a Lifetime movie that was based on it. Did you see that?
Someone actually just last week sent me a link to it. But I guess it's not called The Dollhouse Murders. It's called something else. But yeah, I mean, even the notion, I really do have an issue with dolls. I mean, because I put an antique ventriloquist dummy into The Peculiar Incident on Shady Street because they wig me out so much. You really do. Like, but that book, the concept of this house that came alive, and the sounds and the dolls and them reenacting this murder. It was really horrifying when when this was little. It's like, I don't think I slept for a couple of nights.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I want to highlight this comment because Gabby may or may not be a teacher. And so I'm sure that's why she's asking.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I generally, the age groups that I end up speaking to are anywhere between 4th and 8th. I do realize that 8th graders are often reading young adult, but recently it really seems to me like I have a lot more 7th and 8th graders in my presentation requests than I used to, which is absolutely fine. I love that so much. And just for the record, the vast majority of my presentations are really about some of the exciting parts of finding inspiration and doing the research and looking at the world like a writer. How do we find ideas and writing, and some of the challenges of writing? Because I want students to walk away with the idea that when they're having a tough time, they're not alone. Writing isn't easy. No authors are authors because it's easy for them. We're human and we make mistakes just like they do. And I think if they understand that and really grasp that, it makes them less likely to quit or to want to quit. And that's one of those things I wish someone could have told me when I was that age was, hey, it's okay. You made a mistake. Don't beat yourself up. I actually show my edits. I show screenshots of what my edits look like, and it's it's really alarming.
Yeah, I love that. Gwen's like talking for Gabby now. Do you have any openings?
I know, I love that. Yeah.
Gabby teaches 2nd grade, but I'm sure if whoever you went to speak to, she would be there.
Yeah, I love that so much. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Also, the movie's called Secrets in the Attic, which I need to write that down because if I read that book, I definitely want to watch that movie too, even though it might terrify me. So.
I need to, if you guys read this, I need to put this on my list to reread because my memories of it are, it's been a long time. We don't need to talk about how long it's been, but it's been a long time. But I remember it being really, really, really good, really done well in terms of these scary scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know with like some books that were written, a time ago, you are going to get some polarizing things, some things that maybe, like you said, didn't age well.
Yeah.
But I was actually tossing the idea around with Gwen here earlier because her and Gabby host with me in the fall for Boookathon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I was telling her, maybe not this fall, but some fall, I would really like to do a Boookathon throwback edition where you read books from your childhood or maybe books you didn't read but that were popular spooky middle grades that were from that time. So I don't know, that may be when I start diving into.
That would be really, really fun. And that would be a really good one to do. Yeah. I think it would also spark some really great discussions about how literature has changed for children over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna do a buddy read
of this book.
I would definitely be there for that.
I love it. Gabby said she's trying to inspire her elementary students to read more and find reading as a fun outlet. And she's starting a book club.
Oh, yes. Please email me. How exciting. That would be wonderful.
Gosh. I may have to fly out there.
Oh, that is so cool.
That is awesome. I love it. Okay, let's see. All right, this is a really fun question too. So I want to know what your Boookathon TBR would be.
Okay, so I actually have been thinking about this. So I'm blanking on cat on the cover, first of all. So I don't know about cat on the cover, but so I would say that, so amusement park, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, definitely Empty Smiles. For me, Catherine Arden, but also I'm hoping you guys remember the title of this because right before I got on here, I realized that I can't remember the title. Kirsten White wrote a book that takes
Wretched Water Park.
Is that what it is?
The first one, I think.
Okay.
There's 4 of them in that series, I think.
Okay, hold on a minute. What was it called? Something what?
Wretched Water Park.
Wretched. Okay. Because that's been on my radar for a while.
Yeah, it's the Sinister Summer series, I think is what it's called.
This one.
That's it. Okay. 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 Well, we just solved that. And then
you're in the right crowd for this.
I know. I knew. I was like, oh, they're going to know what it is, Lindsay, because I figured everything. But and then I'm going to say that the one that I mentioned to you at the beginning that I'm getting ready to read, The Nightmare Island.
Mhm.
That concept of faceless children really freaks me out. So
Yeah.
I mean, I have no doubt that she's going to execute this phenomenally, and I'm going to be horrified and, wonderfully delighted at the same time. So I would definitely add that to my Boookathon list.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. We were talking about, which it's so hard to think of covers sometimes, like the cat on the cover prompt. Like there's so many books with cats on the cover, but you really
Yeah.
have to look. So it's hard to remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
like
the
that
too.
books is so random and just
Yeah.
like in that little corner.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I had
But
no idea that was even there either. Now
yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
I've seen that cover how
Oh,
many
I had to
times?
really
I've seen it
look
so
when I
many
was
times.
doing
Yeah.
that.
I love like when creating prompts and stuff, I love to try to do like something on the cover, something in the
Mhm.
title, and then
Mhm.
something in the story. So I was looking at my shelves and I'm like, man, a lot of these have cats and like they're like my cat lady friends too. And I
Mhm.
love that. I was like, this is the perfect prompt for that.
Is
So it's
there
crazy how many.
a cat on the Zoe Washington cover? No, I don't know.
I don't know. There could be. There's a
Like,
lot of cats on covers.
like
So
it just my mind just went completely blank. I'm like, wait, what? I know I've seen cats on covers, but I can't think of
Mhm.
any of them now.
yeah. There is not a cat on the cover of Zoe Washington.
Well, that lamp could be a cat.
Yeah, you're right. Hey,
Yeah.
somebody posted
Whatever.
Dead Voices
Lamp.
and
Yeah.
they were like, does this count? There's not like a cat. And I just drew a cat for him in the clouds on there. I
There
was like, yeah,
it
there
is.
it is right there.
It's called using your imagination.
Yeah.
For sure. I love that. All right. Well, while we wrap this up, if anybody has any questions for Lindsay about what lives in the woods that are non-spoilery questions, go ahead and comment those. But we're going to jump back and forth a little bit because while I'm waiting on those comments to come in, can you tell us a little bit about your upcoming book, which I just so happen to have an arc
The
up and I'm so
cover freaks me out.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
that is terrifying to me. I love it. Look, we're twins.
I know. I gasped when I saw this cover for the first time. I remember being like, I said, oh, we're doing this. And they
Yeah.
were like, well, this is the book you wrote. So yeah,
I am so glad.
this
This
is it.
may be your scariest cover.
Oh,
I
it
think
is.
it is.
Definitely.
And not only do I think it's a scary cover, but I think it's such an effective cover because there are so many elements in this. I'll try to get it close so you guys can see. So you've got a graveyard in the background. You've got these like elephants here. You've got this poor eyeless child with his mouth stitched shut. He's really very ghoulish. It's awful. It's all sorts of awful. And then the storms on the top, which I really love.
Yeah.
So It Found Us is actually, this is one of my favorite main characters I think I've ever written. Hazel is an aspiring podcaster, and she is really good at solving mysteries, like really good at it. She's got what she calls a puzzle brain. So when she hears something or sees something that doesn't make sense, she really can't just let it go. She wants to know more. But her family, her parents, the whole town, they kind of find her behavior to be very pesky and consider her a little bit of a snoop. And that's very hurtful to her. And I actually wrote a little bit of this with this character because I distinctly remember feeling this way when I was a kid. Like the adults in my life didn't take me seriously. And Hazel at the beginning of this book, this is her big goal. She wants to be taken seriously. And one night she overhears her brother talking through, they share a bedroom wall. She overhears him talking to his best friend, and he is plotting to sneak out of the house after dark to play a game of hide and seek in the local graveyard. Red flags, warning, probably not the best idea because this particular graveyard, and this is a real place in real life, is considered to be extremely haunted for a variety of reasons. And she decides to follow him there and hide because she thinks that maybe, given its reputation, she will be able to see something or hear something she can use in her podcast when she gets permission to launch her very first episode, and she wants it to be amazing. So she follows him in, she hides in a bush. The entire group scatters to play their game of hide and seek. It's obviously very scary. It's dark. It's a graveyard. She's next to a tomb. It's a very scary environment to be doing this. An actual game of hide and seek in a graveyard would be scary because most of them do not have lighting. Most graveyards are closed at dusk anyway. So, and when they all scatter and her brother is the seeker, he finds everyone except one boy, who's his best friend, Everett. And Everett doesn't come back.
Oh,
He
gosh.
mysteriously vanishes in the graveyard. There are some very scary sounds. A storm comes in. Really scary things start happening to Hazel, and she begins to question whether or not the answer to finding this boy lies with police and scent tracking dogs, or maybe it actually lies with the very dark, sinister history of the graveyard. And she ultimately may be the one person who could actually find him before he becomes part of that dark history. I'm obsessed with this book. I'm not going to lie. The history in it is super cool. The characters are really fun. I think it's scary, and I had to be careful with how to treat this material, given that it's a kind of a missing kid story. But I think you all also know from the type of stories I write, which this is definitely not a genre, but it should be. Heartwarming horror should be a genre because that's what I write.
Yeah.
That I'm never going to take you into the dark and leave you there. Right. Always going to make sure you come out because it's middle grade and you need to have that ribbon of hope. So I'm really excited. I really hope that you guys all read when it comes
Well,
out.
I for sure will.
Oh, I can't wait.
Thank you. I'm really excited. It comes out September 5th. I see some people were playing hide and seek in graveyards when they were a kid. Honestly, we used to play Ghosts in the Graveyard, and that was enough for me. Yeah, it comes out. Cover is terrifying. It is so scary. Wait until you guys see the final cover. I mean, this image wraps all the way around to the back.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
It's horrifying. And all of the beautiful chapter headings are really just incredible. Yeah. So if anyone who is on this is predisposed to pre-ordering things, that's an amazing thing to do for authors and publishers. So it is available for pre-order now for September 5th.
Yeah. I like this question. Eyeless or faceless? Which kids are more terrifying?
It's all bad. It's all
it really is.
I mean, I feel like we could do eyeless, faceless, mannequins, you know, dolls with moving mouths. All of these things are bad.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love everybody's really intrigued now about
I really love this character. I mean, I can't say that enough. I think that she is brave and empathetic, and I think like a lot of good characters, her perception of herself and the world and the people around her change over the course of this book. And that's the kind of character I love personally, the strong ones, but the ones that aren't, you know, so strong that they're stubborn and they won't look at things any differently. So I'm really excited for the world to meet Hazel. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does. Publishers put a lot of emphasis on pre-orders, and it's hard for authors to explain. They do mean a lot to publishers. And it does change how many books are ordered at different stores and algorithms too. So that's thank you very much for that.
I love that. Okay, real quick, there are a couple of questions I'll try to get to in the comics. I like this idea of them two having. So if you do a sequel that explores, I don't know, I think that would be really cool.
That would be really, really cool. So obviously, really close reading. I love that. Thank you, because I like putting Easter eggs, you know, to other books, you know. So It Found Us takes place in the suburbs of Chicago. And then in The Girl in White, for example, that main character moves to the fictional town of Eastport, Massachusetts from Chicago. So there's always like these little Easter eggs to other books.
And Peculiar Incident on Shady Street is also Chicago too, right? You can tell you're Chicago.
I'm Chicago gal. I would love to do some sort of crossover book where the characters get together, because I do think that Ginny and Claire would be a really fun duo. I think they would be great. I don't know. That could be good. We may have to throw Hazel into the mix after It Found Us, though, because
we need a haunted South. I need someone to go to the South.
Okay, so do you know how many people have told me Savannah, like over and over? I have this huge bucket list of my poor husband. I'll be like, hey, we have to go here. And he'll be like, what happened there? You know,
why?
Like for Scritch Scratch, I said, hey, you want to go on a date night? And he was like, yes, date night. And he goes, what are we going to do? And I said, we're going to go on a ghost tour bus. And he goes, Of course we are.
It's probably used to it by now.
Yeah. No, I think a collab would be a really fun, like do a book that like features, because even though they're all standalone, it would be very easy to put them in the same place at the same time, for a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Have you ever thought about writing young adult or adult horror?
I do. I think about that all the time. I mean, I think if I didn't, just being honest, if middle grade wasn't so comfortable for me to write, my voice just comes out middle grade. I'm not 100% sure if it's because I never quite inside turned away from being 12. I don't know.
Same.
Same. All the time.
Like my outside is like, oh, there's another gray hair. Hey, there's more wrinkles. But inside I'm like, ooh, 12 and nerdy. Like it's just permanent. So, I mean, I think for that reason, besides the fact that I love middle grade readers are voracious. Middle grade readers of all ages, I should put it that way. Like, I think all of us who have a real passion for middle grade fiction are really passionate about it. And that goes for like the kids as well. So those two things combined kind of make me predisposed to want to keep writing middle grade. But I do think about what it would be like to write for an older age group, because obviously some of the things that I don't do or can't do in middle grade would be something, I could do in an older age group if I feel like it. So I don't know. We'll see. I never say never in publishing.
Yeah, I love that. So I also listened to the audiobook for What Lives in the Woods. Were you involved in selecting the narrator?
Yeah. So on that book, I was allowed to participate in that. I think I was given 3 different choices, which was exciting. We don't always get that. So It Found Us has a narrator that was pre-chosen for me. I'm sure they're going to be absolutely wonderful. So I don't say that as like a negative thing. It's just that authors don't always get to have any say in any of that. It's like the covers, I mean, generally you're shown a cover and said, here's your cover. And it's a really scary moment. I've been very fortunate to have covers that I really love. But it's with the audiobooks, like you just have to hope that this, they either give you a couple to choose from and one of them really resonates with you and sounds like and feels like your character. Or if they give you one and they're like, it's done, that, you're comfortable with that person.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about narrating your own book?
What's so weird is that I read my books all out loud when I'm editing. Like I read them as I'm writing them too.
So you could totally do that.
I mean, I think I could do it. It's just that when I hear my voice, I'm like, this is not pleasing. Like this would not be pleasing to listen to. Like there are some people who are just, I mean, some of these narrators, like I hear them and I'm like, wow, what a voice. And the way that they enunciate things and the way they can do it.
Neil Gaiman.
Amazing. Amazing. I just think, and I don't know. I mean, maybe we're all kind of that way when we hear our own voices. But when I hear mine, because I get recorded all the time for different things, then they'll play it back and I'm like, whoa, that's a bad sound.
Yeah, I think we're our own worst critics with everything, and including like we just are hyper aware of what we sound like and all that. So where can we pre-order? Pretty sure anywhere.
Anywhere. Yeah, anywhere. I mean, honestly, like I always push, indies just because I do feel like they need it. It's hard. It becomes harder and harder for them to stay in the game with like Amazon and things like that. But also, being a person who grew up without a lot of funds for new books, especially hardbacks, and this book is only coming out in hardback to start. It won't be out in paperback for 11 months. I'm also not against people looking for the best deal they can find now. So, I mean, wherever you can find it anywhere. And thank you for asking that. That puts oh, you know what I should say really quickly? If you guys do pre-order, go to the homepage of my website, lindsaycurrie.com. There's a little form. Yep. There's a link there. There's like a button. And if you fill out that form, my publisher's sending the coolest little pre-order gift over the summer. It's just a little package. It'll be very cool. So make sure you do that because it's totally free. Just use your receipt to do it.
Yeah, I love that. One more question. So do you always like to write a main character that has a passion?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I really like them to have a goal. I think it's important for them to have a goal because then I can really mess them up. And that's kind of my job as a writer. I mean, books would be very boring if everything went smoothly for the characters. So I'm obviously just horrible to mine. I like to know at the beginning of a book what my character wants,
Mm-hmm.
where I want them to end up, but then what that helps me figure out what to throw in their way of that. And sometimes by the end of the book, my character is getting what they want. And sometimes they're getting a different version of it that they never even knew they wanted, but that like makes sense for them.
Yeah.
But yes, I need them to have some kind of goal, something they want.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Well, all right. Well, just so everybody knows, Lindsay's website, Instagram, and a link to each of her books is in the description of this video. So if y'all need help finding a pre-order link, there is an Amazon one down below.
Thank
um,
you.
yeah, but I linked all that there for you guys to find easy. And Lindsay, thank you again for agreeing to come on with us and
Thank you,
thank
chatting
you.
guys.
with us.
No, this was so
Yeah.
very fun. I really appreciate it. Thank you for choosing my book. Thank you for including me in this. This has been a
Yeah.
super fun way to spend the night. And I'm just so glad to finally meet you all. So thank you. And thank you, everyone who joined.
Yeah. Well, we hope to have you on again soon, but we will.
Yeah.
We'll definitely chat
Absolutely.
again.
Hopefully when It Found Us comes out.
Yes, that would be
Yes.
awesome.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Bye,
have a
guys.
good night.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, I can breathe. That was so fun. Okay.
Your stress can be over
I
now.
know. Actually, it was like I was so stressed
was-
before, but it was so good. Like,
Yeah, it was so chill.
okay. But we're still alive, everybody. So we're still here. I'm so excited. Okay. Now we can talk about the book.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll definitely have her on again. And hopefully this has made me want to have like more authors on too. So we need to get Sally Hepworth on. Not that I haven't already met her, but
you are besties with her now, so.
oh, I love it. Okay. All right. I feel like I can breathe. Now let's go ahead and talk about the book. So, for those of y'all who did read What Lives in the Woods, we are going to talk about like it's okay to talk spoilers at this point. So for those of you who didn't read it, I just want y'all to be aware we may get into spoilers. So if you haven't read this book yet and you need to pop out, feel free to do so. This is going to be a pretty general like discussion of just kind of like an overlay what we thought about the book and everything. And I like to end with the rating just because sometimes when you talk about a book, you can be swayed a little bit. So we'll end with that. But let's just go ahead and start out with let's talk about the characters first. So we had Jenny and I'm already forgetting their names. It was Jenny, Leo, and Will. I don't know why I'm forgetting Will's name. That's my husband's name. So what did y'all think about Jenny and her character? And y'all can comment too if y'all want to, but
Okay. I loved her character. Anytime anybody is a bookish character, like they love books, I'm automatically gonna love them. Like anything about books, I'm
and that
always
she
gonna
wants
love
to
that
write
book.
mysteries. Like that's even better because we love
Yes.
mysteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was really relatable with the whole book thing and the writing and the just loving all of the like scary stuff. So I really felt like her and I would be best friends if I was her
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, definitely.
I love how at the beginning, like she was a planner and like when she was going on this trip, like I wrote this down in my notes on my phone and it's so funny that like this is something that stuck out to me, but I guess it's like because this is how I relate to her too. She was like, I have a whistle for if there's bears in the woods. And I'm like, I love that she thinks about stuff like that because,
Yeah.
sometimes anxiety, you're like, okay, there might be bears. Let me bring this. There might be this. Let me prepare for this. So I love that about her too, that she's just like very prepared, for sure.
Yeah.
One thing that, like, this isn't specifically, I guess, like her as a character, but did y'all notice times?
Kindle.
It's like the robot.
Say that again. We caught every like fourth syllable.
Sorry, I let out the breath I was holding. That happened a few times,
Oh
and
yeah, that does.
I don't know if I've read that in a middle grade, but I know that's like a common statement that everybody's like, they always say this, and I'm like, it's in this one.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness, I love that. Hi, peanut butter.
It's storming
She
here,
wanted
and
attention the
she's.
whole time.
Oh
I
no.
know it's storming, and she's having a little attack, a little panic attack. So.
Oh,
Poor
poor
thing.
baby.
My chihuahua
Where's
used to do
Jelly?
that, but her
Jelly
hearing's
is
gone.
in the living room somewhere, running around.
What was that mini eye roll?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Love that Jenny was bookish. That made it more special for sure.
Mhm.
Also love that Jenny loved to read. Straight up associated with her. Felt like me at 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that she's a book nerd and aspiring author. Lots in common with her. I love that. It's always good when you can relate with a character. Like Jenny a lot, even though I love a good Agatha Christie ghost or not on my agenda. For sure. Like the kids in the book, but I did expect her to investigate earlier. Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like there was definitely a lull, and like it kind of got a little bit repetitive in the middle of just her. Like I was waiting to find out a little bit more, but I think it's really good though. Jenny reminded me of my daughters, a bit sassy like my older one and bookish, wanting to be a writer like my younger one. I love that. Yeah. She was very well done for sure. I feel like you really get to know her. It wasn't a
Mhm.
question. Um, so another thing that I want to talk about, so appropriate for an eighth grader. I did not read her as an eighth grader until I found out she was an eighth grader because I was thinking more like fifth or sixth. But I also like we're adults now, so I think it's
Mhm.
hard to remember where we were at in those ages. But what did y'all think about the inclusion of like, I mean, it felt like a vacation boyfriend type situation.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
she became friends with him, but then you could kind of see that, well, maybe they liked each other. What
Yeah.
did y'all think about the inclusion of that in a horror book? Because I think for me, it threw me off a little bit.
I mean, I think
It
it's
was
just something
cute.
different that she wanted to throw in. I do
Yeah.
remember being that age. That was the age where a lot of my friends like started getting like little
Mhm.
crushes and like
Mhm.
boyfriends that like lasted 2 weeks and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I didn't really think it was like
It was
super
cute,
weird.
but
Yeah, but it just
Yeah.
isn't like a normal thing in
yeah. In horror,
every.
right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I
I
like that
def
it wasn't overdone too.
Yeah.
Like it was just a little bit to
Yeah.
where like you're like, oh, they have feelings for each other, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like they're like holding hands and wanting to kiss each other every all
Yeah.
that stuff. So
yeah. I think for me, it was learning. Like she was talking about, she writes heartwarming horror, and I think that
Mhm.
is the perfect. Like I
Yeah.
needed that terminology in my head because I was like, so much of this was cute to me, and there were scary
Mhm.
parts, but there was so much where I was like, oh, that's a cute story, and I'm like, this is a horror. What am I reading? So
Mhm.
heartwarming horror. It's like cozy horror. So that makes so
yeah.
much
Yeah.
sense as to what she writes, and I think telling people that like that's going to help people know if that's what they want to read, if that's something they're interested in with their like spooky middle grade, this is heartwarming horror. This is going to
Yeah.
give you a happy ending and a sweet story along with the spooky element. So
Mhm.
romance was cute, but it was still innocent, mostly friends kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely remember having I didn't have vacation boyfriends, but I liked when I went on vacation. I think I mentioned before, like I'd be like at the pool or something at the hotel, and there'd be like a
Mhm.
boy swimming over there, and be like, he's cute. And I talked to my mom about him and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I would be too scared to go and say anything, but I would just pretend in my head, like, okay. And so, like, you make eye contact. So I remember being that age and just like
Yeah.
seeing people, I'm like, they don't know me. And so I could just be like, hey, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's
I get
funny
it.
to
Yeah.
relate with that, your inner child or your childhood memories from that stuff. Yeah, definitely age appropriate. I think kids that read this will relate to with,
Mhm.
Mhm.
where they're at. Really sweet and kept it from being too scary. Yeah, for sure. Oops, sorry. Like the fact that she had a friend to confide in and believed her experiences. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, have you thought of a boy main character? Oh, I wonder if she was talking about for Lindsay, maybe, or
Maybe. Yeah.
just recommendations. I'm trying to think. There are, you know what? There are actually a lot of the spooky middle grade books that I know of are girl main characters.
Mhm. Like most of them, if not all of them.
I need
Yeah.
to write a boy.
Yeah,
But
because I
yeah,
like
because
the.
like City of Ghosts, Empty Smile, or
Mhm.
not Empty Smiles, Small Spaces, The Clackety, this. Hmm.
There's always just like a boy. Like I mean, the only one
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
that I can
Night
really
Books.
think about right now.
I'm looking at my shelf to see if there's any. Midnight at the Barclay Hotel is more of a mystery, but I love
Mhm.
that one. And that one has a main character that's a boy. And then also, I just saw another, The Keeper by Guadalupe Garcia McCall.
Mhm.
That's a brother sister, but the brother's the main character. So there's a couple, but that
Yeah.
is, you don't think about that stuff until somebody brings it up, and it's like, huh, interesting. I love that. I'm gonna speed through these comments just a little. Heartwarming horror was best description, yeah.
Mhm.
And them holding hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. Yeah, Night Books. Okay, Carnival, which is the Monster Street series, I think. Graveyard Book's another good one with the boy main
Yeah.
character. I like that. Um, I also really liked the relationship between her and her brother
Mhm.
in the book because you never
Yeah.
know. Like, there's always, you have the sibling dynamic, where sometimes you butt heads, but I feel like he was such a good brother to her
Yeah.
in
It
this and
was
like believe in her. And
realistic.
yeah,
Like they kind of got on each other's nerves sometimes, but he was there whenever she needed him. So
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really good. All right. What about the writing? So this can be like anything from pacing, atmosphere. Like,
Mhm.
what did y'all think about the general, like,
Well, I listened to it while I read, but there wasn't really a point in the story ever for me that it lagged.
Same.
So
that's good.
yeah, so I was interested in the whole thing, and I listened to it like in one sitting on Saturday. Like I just turned it on, read through it while I was doing some stuff, and
Yeah. It was
I
definitely a
liked the
quick
writing.
read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the atmosphere of the manor itself too. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
love
Yeah.
that.
I love any haunted house stuff. So when
Mhm.
they
Me
when
too.
I saw that that was going to be like the thing, I was like, yes, I'm so glad we picked this one because it just I don't know. There's something about your house being like haunted or creepy that's
Mhm.
just like makes it even
Yeah.
darker.
Yeah, and I liked the little like just like shop settings, like the bookstore, the antique shop. I
Yeah.
liked all of that thrown in too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like that. This is a
Mhm.
adult book, but that is one with
Yeah.
main character. It reads like, well, it doesn't read like a middle grade. The main character goes back to when he was a child, but this is an adult book. But I do
Yeah.
like that book a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
Calm to scary, calm to scary. Yeah. I
Mhm.
almost wish, which now that I know this is more heartwarming horror, but I almost wish it would have been a little bit more scary because I felt like I would get scared for a little bit, but then I'd be like, push back. Like, it'd be like, okay. But also, I think there are definitely young readers that need that. Like, that some of
Mhm.
them are going to enjoy the more fully scary books, and then some maybe want to read something a little scary, but want to be reassured too. So I definitely think she reaches that audience.
Yeah. And I
Nailed
think
the
it's
atmosphere.
scary enough. And I read a lot of adult horror too.
Hmm.
And even as somebody that reads a lot of that, it's still like spooky enough. So I feel like there
Hmm.
was a good amount in it.
For sure. What Dobby was saying too, I love, like, that's one of, again, like I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite things about her books is just knowing you can go back and see these
Mhm.
places. And V.E. Schwab does that too with her Cassidy Blake series, City of Ghosts, Tunnel of Bones, Bridge of Souls. And that's one thing I love about her books too, is that you get that like real connection
Yeah.
with, places, haunted places and stuff. It's really cool. Also love the short chapters. We love a good short chapter. It makes the
Yes,
Yeah.
book
I
go
hate
by
long
quick.
chapters.
Listen while working. It was easy to do both. Yeah. Yeah. I listened and read along with it. Kendall, did you listen to
Mhm.
it or just physically read?
Yeah. I
Listen.
listened to it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like I can't read now without listening and reading because I can't
Same.
focus.
Same.
Yeah, it helps me remember a lot more.
She just like
Blind cat.
attacked. Okay.
I love it. Between Jovi and peanut butter, it's just like,
Yeah. I don't know the world.
I thought the writing was good. Really enjoyed the story. Yeah. The end was abrupt. I can see that, but I mean, I feel like it was I don't know what else it would have done. I do think that at the beginning you get the beginning and then it was like kind of slower in the middle and then at the end that's when you find things out like the last 50 pages. So I
Yeah.
do kind of wish that the reveal and the build up and all that was a little bit longer, but I mean, it's like that in other middle grade series too. Like I know and Small Spaces is one of my favorite series. Y'all know that, but at the
Mhm.
end, it always wraps up super quick, and I
Yeah.
think it definitely wrapped up super quick here too. So I would like, even though I still like the book, I would like it to be, a little bit more drawn out. But I totally get, and sometimes it's hard to know how to end it longer, because if
Mhm.
you think about like how would you do this, I don't know. So
Yeah.
trope that I don't love is the parents never believing their kids. Yes. Want to
Mhm.
build their confidence to trust in parents to believe them, but I do get that it's a plot device. Yeah, for sure. Well, and then you never know, like if a kid is like, what's their imagination and what's not, and I don't know. I know that can probably be hard,
Well, she
but
even called herself out for like doing that multiple times, like where she made them believe something was going on, and
yeah, like the boy who cried wolf
yeah.
situation for sure. I did wish it was a bit spookier, but I love the heartwarming take. Yeah, same. I don't do adult horror, but I love spooky season, so this was excellent. Yay! See, so
Yeah.
that's good. Like that's just where there's a book for everybody and there's a spooky middle grade for everybody. I love that.
Mhm.
The mannequin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy the creepy typewriter messages. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah.
I feel like the hitchhikers were spooky and I wanted more about them. Yeah, well maybe since, we talked to her a little bit, maybe she'll do like a
Mhm.
sequel eventually or like a
Yeah.
lap over with. But I'm so glad because I was sitting there like, there's got to be a reason why this book, because everybody's talking about it, like what lives in the woods. And I'm like, why? And then I was looking at like something that she was talking like one of her interviews or whatever before I was looking at, and she was talking about that she put a lot of red herrings in the book. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that makes so much sense. Like
Yeah.
the red herring is the title. And I get she was saying that some people didn't get it and
Yeah,
I
that
mean
was a
clearly
cool.
none of us got it really at first. So but it was still that's such a creative
Mhm.
way of thinking like, oh, this is going to be and it did distract from that cuz
Oh
most of us
yeah.
I don't think noticed that little thing crawling down the curtain. So I love that. Then there's me buying the dollhouse first.
Mhm.
I know. We'll love a sequel. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, so clearly we've kind of already talked about this, but I wanted before we did like a star rating, I wanted to see what y'all's scary rating was. So out of like 5 ghost emojis, y'all can comment and put what your scary rating was out of 5. So what do y'all think your scary rating would be?
Okay. I read some
I know.
unhinged
I was about
I
to say,
know.
yeah.
horror. Like it's some of it's like bad. Like my husband's like, please don't talk to me about this.
Yeah.
I would probably just put it at a 2, just
Yeah.
because for me personally, it takes a lot to scare me after all the books that I've read, because I've done a lot of the 24-hour horror-a-thon
Mhm.
Mhm.
stuff and everything. So, but probably a 2 for me, because I do feel like it was like fairly spooky to where it would be like a really good like Halloween fall time read.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, 2 for me.
Yeah. It would be 2 for me as well. I watch a lot of horror movies and read a
Mhm.
lot of
Yeah, you do.
scary stuff,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, hope it takes a lot to scare me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I
I'm
think
also
it's
a 2.
perfect. Yeah, I think it's perfect for the age
Oh yeah,
that
definitely.
it's
Yeah.
Like
reaching
this
out
probably would
for.
have freaked me out when I was little.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love though, like say there are some threes. So there
mhm.
I
Yeah.
love that to see how different things scare people too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I thought that would be an
Yeah.
interesting question. Okay, so star rating. What's everybody's star rating? I'll go last.
I was sitting at between a 4 and 4.5, but after talking to her, I'm gonna do a 4.5, so that'll push it up to a 5 on Goodreads and then 4.5 on Storygraph. So, but I really really liked it. I don't I haven't read most of her books, which are like the favorite books. I know Liv really liked the girl. What is it? The Girl in White or whatever it is. I haven't read any of those yet, so I feel like this will probably be a middle of the pack type book when it comes to her
Yeah,
stuff. I think I liked Scritch Scratch a little better
same.
just because it was just more of like spookier vibes, and I loved like the locations and everything and just the characters in that one.
Yeah.
Mine was a 5, just because this is the first book of hers that I've ever read,
Mhm.
and it definitely made me want to read more.
Yeah.
And I just am obsessed with haunted houses, so I thought it was like the perfect thing.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, see, I knew it, like, if anything, I felt like everybody was at least going to give a 3
Mhm.
or above. So that's good because,
Yeah.
like, 3 is a good rating.
Yeah.
So my rating, I think this is the hard part about rating books is, do I rate off of my personal taste or do I rate off of like the merit of the book? So for me, I think I rated it a 3.5, but I put it as a 4 on Goodreads. But a lot of that was from personal taste because I think if you want a, um, what did she call it?
Heartwarming
Yes,
Mhm.
heartwarming. I
Yes.
was like,
horror.
it's not yeah, if you want, like, a heartwarming horror book and you give this to, like, the intended age audience, like, it's gonna be a five-star read.
Mhm.
But I think for, like, what I typically go for, like, I wanted it a little bit more scary, so I gave it, like, a 3.5 bump up to a 4. And like I said, it's rated a 4 on Goodreads for me, but, like,
Yeah.
personal, so mine was a little bit, I always do that. I'm pulled both ways. I'm like, which way do I do this? Because I know this was really good, but I did want
Mhm.
it to be a little bit more scary. But again, after talking to her, that definitely does,
Yeah.
have an effect on, what
Yeah.
you think about the book and seeing what her thought process was when creating it. So I think reading it between Clackety and City of Ghosts is hard for me because those are four. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Those are two of my favorites also.
Yeah.
So for sure. Um, So I love how, like, I have this question, but I don't know that I have an answer for it, but I want to know if anybody else does. So if you like this book, do y'all have any other book or movie or TV show recommendations for this? I mean, obviously the rest of her books. Um,
Mhm.
the only
Dead
thing I
voice
can think of
Dead
is City.
Voices was the vibe that
Oh
I was
yeah.
getting with like the location kind of just with them
Hmm.
going to like a vacationy type
Yeah.
location.
I think City of Ghosts too, like we were
Yeah.
talking about with the
Mhm.
legends and stuff, like that series, the Cassie Black series by Victoria Schwab.
Yeah.
But if anybody has any in the comments too. Kendall, do you know of any? I know I was like,
No,
I'm gonna
just
ask this
city.
question and I don't even know.
Yeah. Now that you said City of Ghosts, I can see that.
Did you read that one?
Yeah, I just haven't read any of the other ones yet.
Yeah. I love that so much.
But it
I'm
was
trying to
Dead
good.
think
Voice is
if
such a good.
any of the Avalon Jones books,
Yeah.
because they include like bookish, like haunted bookish things. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
they go into like the
This is like
bookstore.
Haunted Manor. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
think if there's any Haunted Manor, but like Midnight at the Barclay Hotel is kind of, but it's a different Midnight at the Barclay Hotel. So if you like the Agatha Christie element of this and the mystery, like red herring stuff,
Mhm.
Midnight at the Barclay Hotel is like a game of Clue. So I would
Mhm.
recommend that if you like that element of the book.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say the third Avalon Jones would most go with that one just because the third book is them going to her uncle's house to like sell it
okay.
because he went missing and she wants to try to find him. So they're having to like break into his office and like find clues and everything. So it kind of gives that vibe off. But
Yeah, I love that. All right. Will you pick up any more books from Lindsay Currie? I think probably we all are.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
I want
Um,
to eventually read all of her books. This is my second one
Same.
from her. So
yeah. Kendall, this was your first one, right, by her?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have any of her other ones yet, or?
I don't own any, but I will probably I've been trying to use my library a little bit more,
hmm
so I'm
Yeah.
gonna go take my books back for horror-a-thon that I had this week. So I might look for some and see what they have of hers at the library and pick one out.
Yeah. I officially own all of her books now. So
Mhm.
I've read this one. I keep saying, like, Scritch Scratch is my favorite, but
Mhm.
here's the deal. I read 3/4 of it and I had to like spoil myself because I was doing it for my middle grade book club. So I actually didn't read the last little bit. So I want to reread it, but I still
Yeah.
like that one the best. And I read The Peculiar Incident on Shady Street. That was the first one that I read by her. So
Yeah. I really feel like I know I haven't read it yet, but I feel like the one coming out
hmm
will
I just
probably be my favorite.
cannot. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to know about these elephants too. Like that's what's
Yeah.
throwing me with the cover. She was talking about the elephants, and I'm
Right.
like, you got this, and you got elephants. What are the elephants doing?
Yeah.
This is unhinged and we love it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Ugh, I'm glad I have this too. Like,
Mhm.
because you just never know. And she was like, just ask the publisher, and I was like, okay. And so I get scared to ask sometimes, but
I get it.
I want to read Script Scratch and the Girl in White. We'll
Mhm.
pre-order the new book. Yeah, I love that. Have all of her books except for the new release. Yeah. I'm excited to see what I think of the new one. I would
Mhm.
like to
Yeah.
read her others before I get to that one, but I think I might read that one first. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can't be tamed. The elephants make me think circus. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So, third read of Lindsay's. Awesome. Okay. Um, so as we're wrapping up tonight, because we have been here for about an hour and a half, what was your favorite book that you read for Bookthon?
Mine, I'm just gonna okay. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there too, just for anybody that needs to know. If you like more juvenile side of um, spooky middle grade, read this. If you don't pick it up. Um, but I think I don't know. I liked. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I really liked What Lives in the Woods. Night Books was creepy. I loved the witch in that. And then Daybreak on Raven Island was not so much spooky, but a really good mystery.
Yeah,
There was a couple of spooky parts, but it was more like mystery to me. But honestly, I loved all three of those.
Mine was my reread of Deep and Dark and Dangerous. Um, I think this one definitely isn't as scary as I thought it was when I was, a kid,
oh yeah,
but it's a really quick read and it
Mhm.
does have a really good message at the end. It actually made me like kind of tear up and I was like I did not even like you don't think about those things when you're that age reading these books, the kind of messages they have, but
Mhm.
this
yeah.
one is just still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love that. So, Kendall, I was actually talking to Hope the other day about, well, I guess Friday, and we were talking about like books that we read as a kid or whatever. And I was
Mhm.
talking about like the books that I had as a child. And I was like, there was this one book and it was called The Doll in the Garden and it had this cover. And I looked it up and it was Mary Downing Hahn. But I didn't read it because I was too scared to, but I actually
Yeah.
own one. I'm like, that is Kendall's author. And I'm
Yeah.
Yeah,
this book. So now I've got to get it because I had
for
it as a
sure.
child. I want to read that one, but I'm gonna have to read more of her books. So
Yeah, for sure.
so my favorite. This is hard because it's not gonna. So like the book that I rated the highest was Bunnicula, the graphic novel,
Mhm.
but I loved. I really didn't think that I was gonna like this as much as when you have a book there's an original book and then there's a graphic novel adaptation. You don't always like the adaptations as much, but this book brought to life the story that I loved as a child. And so I was like, this is 5 stars. So this is like my highest rated. But this has got, I have to say, this is my favorite. This book made me cry.
I told you.
Y'all. I know, but like, what? How dare she say, hey, this is a spooky middle grade book and then make me cry? I
I
mean,
did not expect it. I put it down and I was like, what just happened?
yeah. It was, I mean, obviously, like the main character, like she had cancer and, stuff like that. So it was going to be tugging at your heartstrings. But
Mhm.
the one thing that I love in spooky middle grade books, and the one thing, like if I ever write one, I'll only hope to be able to accomplish this, is to take something that is a real life fear and put it in a book and give like bravery and hope and just like the way that she did this, like the life lessons that she had in this, and just the one line things that she said, I was like, I'm not okay. Like I
No.
vlogged it and I caught myself crying. I was like, I'm not okay.
Keisha sent me a
So-
picture of her crying, and she was like, "What is going on?"
So yeah, y'all need to read This Appearing House.
It's very good.
It is very creepy though. Like there's some
Mhm.
freaking creepy scenes in this. I'm like, why are you even writing this in here? This is just scary. So
Yeah.
it was a good balance. She also wrote Ghost Girl, which I read that one a couple years ago. And I liked it too, but I think I like this one. I think I like this one better than Ghost Girl. It's been a couple years, but
Mhm.
she's good nonetheless. So if y'all haven't checked out Allie Melaninko, you need to. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to scroll back and see what everybody's favorites were. City of Ghosts. Oh, I love that one. Midnight at the Barclay Hotel. Spirit Hunters. Y'all are just naming off my favorites now. What Lives in the Woods. Gotcha. Whispering Pines. Kendall, you read that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
That's good. And What Lives in the Woods. Night Books. Want to read Night Books. Yeah. The Stars Did Wander Darkling. So far, very spooky and intriguing. I think that got a little bit of fantasy elements in it too, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen that one around. Eva Evergreen as a bonus book, and I love that one. It was charming. Oh, I have that one. I haven't gotten to it yet. Night Books. I was literally carrying it around the house and then eating lunch. My husband and kids are laughing. Oh, I love that. Giving it hugs. That's good. Okay. Well, that is going to wrap up Boookathon for us. I feel like it flew by, but also like, oh, it's so good. I didn't get to all of my books. Did y'all get to all of your books?
Yeah, I only had 4 of
Yeah.
them, so.
Yeah. I did read, well, I read 2 graphic novels and then 2 regular novels. And then I had this one. Well, I actually read another one that wasn't on my list because I listened to the audio book for The Skeleton Man by Joseph Bruchac. But I didn't get to this one, and I'm really bummed because I know I'm going to like it. And I was like, crap, I didn't, fulfill the prompt of circus. But then I remembered when I read this book that she's at a caravan camp and it's a part of the circus. So I was like, ha, I did it.
Yeah.
So it made me feel good because I was like,
Had to move stuff
no.
around.
But it's okay. If I wouldn't have, it's fine because like there's been plenty of times where I have not. I've hosted and I have not. So it's fine. Life happens sometimes, and I'm just glad we all read some books we enjoyed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
So
the goal,
good.
always.
Yeah.
I know everybody is really looking forward to the next Boookathon. So it is going to come back in October, and Gwen and Gabby are going to be hosting with me again this October. So that'll be fun. And this is like kind of spoilery, but y'all, if you know me, you know that I am just awful at keeping secrets. So because all of you 26 people are still here with me, I'm going to spoil you on what this fabric for the book sleeve is going to look like in the fall. Because I can't be.
Have we
I
seen
can't
it?
be contained. I think you have.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything.
Yeah. So it's going to be more like cozy, cute. It's not really spooky. I mean, the only thing spooky is like the hat on this toad. But this is
Oh,
going to
yeah, I
be
have
book
seen
sleeve
it.
fabric.
I love
And
that
I'm
one. It's so cute.
excited.
But
So-
it's good to have it like completely different
Yeah.
than the other one, so you don't have a bunch
Mhm.
of book sleeves that are the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
So, and I still think that little toad could be a character in a cute little.
Oh,
It could be in a
definitely.
heartwarming horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lindsay, get on
So-
it. Write a toad.
Yeah. So that is going to be the book sleeve, and then I'm tossing around the idea. I'm not making any promises, but I think I'm gonna rebrand Boookathon a little bit with like a new look. So I have some things in my mind that I hope work out. I think we're gonna rebrand in October a little bit. So
I feel like that's a good time to do
Am I
it.
lagging?
October.
Yeah.
You can still hear what you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. So I hope y'all are too. I feel like everybody is.
Yeah.
But I love all these
Always.
strong comments. Pre-ordering now. Y'all, I've already made the stinking graphics, and then I was like, I think I'm gonna rebrand. I'm like, oh my goodness, which right now we just use the same stuff. But Rachel, where are you at? I love it. Ready to be a ghosty again. I think that has been the biggest thing is when we decided to do the sheets, and now we just incorporate that in every Boookathon. It's just
Yeah.
the best
That
thing.
was my favorite part. I couldn't see a thing, so my husband was like trying to play
Your
photographer.
Taylor Swift ghosty. So cute.
As
So
soon as you
extra.
said we're dressing up as ghosts, I was like
Yeah.
anti-hero.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I love the extra. It was great. But anyway, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and let you guys go because I know y'all have been here for a while. But thanks everyone for joining in. We hope you guys enjoyed Boookathon. And thank you to my lovely co host. They are linked down below. Their channels are linked if you want to go and follow, subscribe to them if you haven't already. But I will go ahead and end it here. We'll see you guys soon. We'll see you before the next Boookathon, but we'll also see you next Boookathon. So, all right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.